Hey everybody, just want to give a quick shout out. All right, Bluebird Cottage Cafe and Event Center. This is opening in the summer. All right, come on in for a quick bite or just some coffee, just in a nice country setting like nothing other. All right, or you can schedule a special event any way you like it. All of the information is down in the description. And without further ado, here's the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the One More Podcast. I am here with a couple people. We were just arguing about stupid stuff, so hopefully we can discuss some not stupid stuff. I have with me, if you want to introduce yourself.
Blake.
And?
Evan.
All right, cool. So everybody knows Blake. Probably not everybody knows Evan, but that's okay. So we'll just jump into it. So I just thought this was kind of an interesting concept slash topic to discuss because I know it impacts a lot of people's lives. I mean, we're humans. With humans, we have relationships, we have connections, we have friendships, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to sort of delve into the more unusual part of friendship. So, generally when you think of friendship, you think what? Someone with similar interests, doing things together, talking about stuff, hanging out, having a good time. That's kind of the general concept for it. On the other hand, though, you have fights and you have anger and you have to have forgiveness and distrust and kind of this concept of maybe betrayal or something like that. So, obviously, hopefully in a healthy friendship, everyone has, good relationships and everything like that. But I think, we can't be blind necessarily to, the bad stuff. So, I was just curious kind of on your guys' takes. I want to focus really, on forgiveness. Just that whole aspect, to what extent, have you to go through that kind of situation? What do you view other people? Have you seen someone forgive someone else and you disagree with that? Maybe in terms of whatever the situation is. So I was just curious on your guys' take.
I always heard forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for yourself. And grudges are the shit that causes cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but at the same time, I know that I could never in my heart of heart forgive someone that ever hurt my family.
Okay.
Ever.
Does it just extend just to your family, or does it also yourself? If someone hurt you, or
if someone can hurt me, I get it. Or no, never mind. No.
I think it's all contextual. Sorry, I think it's all based on context as well for that part of it.
Yeah, so for example, let's say somebody robbed me when I was out getting a can of dip or whatever at 7-Eleven at midnight, and I couldn't walk for the rest of my life. And
okay. Wow. That's
no matter,
extreme. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Extreme situation for an extreme dilemma. I could not forgive that person.
Okay.
I learned how to deal with it, but forgiveness, no.
So you think you'd successfully be able to get rid of that hate or that?
No.
Oh, okay. So it still live with you?
And I think that a lot of people I think it's actually more common I don't think you should let go of hate, but you shouldn't forget it, because that's how you learn. That's how, you shouldn't let go. You should let go of hate, but don't forget it. Sorry,
but,
I'm being
no, you're
repetitive.
Good. You're good. But what I'm curious about, so is that negative though to keep in that hate? Is that going to be that, because I feel like the ultimate way to get past it and to have to try and live your life to the fullest. So, in keeping with the situation, you're disabled now, and for the rest of your life, and especially for the first year, you're going to have to adapt to being crippled. So I feel like to really forgive and try and make the most out of your life and to be as happy as you could, I think you just have to forget that hate, because whether or not you can deal with it, it's always still going to be a burden of some sort.
Sure.
So, I mean, wouldn't the best option is just to say, you know what, forgive and forget,
I don't think forgive, but I think forget.
Well, see, I kind of have a point with that, because it's kind of it comes from my policy on forgiveness, which is I'm not going to forgive you unless I can tell you actually care.
Yes.
Okay,
Like,
sure.
It's really a matter of I can probably forgive you for just about anything as long as I can tell you've actually done something to try and fix the situation, or you're
Fix yourself.
like, or you're like genuinely, I can tell it's really like a big thing for you. Like, if I can actually see effort and
What if they're just bad at expressing their feelings and stuff like that?
That's
well, then
the
they gotta
whole
learn.
point.
Okay.
Yeah, then they gotta learn, because
Or just
I'm not just gonna
express
sit
it
here
through
and
actions.
deal
though.
with it.
What if they were
So if my future wife cheats on me and I decide not to divorce her
Mhm.
because of the kids or whatever, it would take me a long time to
Well, I think this not to interrupt you, but I think that's a bad example, because I think cheating on a significant other is a whole different category of
don't think
forgiveness. I think so, very much so, because
well, it's still forgiveness though, right?
but I think that is a different kind of forgiveness, because
Because
in
we're
your example,
married or because
you're married, because in this instance you have kids now.
I find so
It's
if Brittany
okay, sure.
cheats on me,
Okay, sure.
and I decide to stay with her, I don't know why I ever would, but if I decide to stay with her,
I just real quick, I'm sorry. The reason why I had interjections also is because it's a legal principle. It's
Sure,
like
fine.
it's there's
Got
a lot more to go into it.
got that, sure.
Sorry.
And I decide to stay with her, it would take I don't give a shit whether or not she like expresses her feelings of forgiveness. You need to show it through action.
Okay.
That would
Yeah.
be the case. So it would be I don't think I would be this extreme, but some boyfriends, if they get cheated on, I don't think it's irrational for them to go, hey, call me whenever you get to work, or let me know what you're doing after work, like all that stuff, because that level of trust.
To like
needs
what
to be
extent
built.
though?
Yeah, obviously, if you're stalking your girlfriend, that's
Well, I mean, like, what if
crossing
it's
the line.
she does this for like the first 6 months or something, and then
That depends entirely on the person.
okay,
So some people are very trusting.
Mhm.
I'm not.
sure,
So it would take a long time for me to finally, all right, sure.
Mhm.
But then again, in the back of my mind, because I'm not very trusting, I always have but maybe, like with anybody,
Well,
and I
sure.
don't take it
Oh,
personally.
even like to your next relationships and stuff.
Yeah, don't take it personally. It's just but maybe.
No, I mean that's fair. I can't. It's not like someone can force you to say, "Hey, Blake, get over it. Stop feeling those feelings and emotions." So
No.
I think we're all entitled to, but I hate using that word entitled, because it's like it's been so degraded.
Obligated.
Entitled is like a bad word now.
It is like if
Obligated.
allowed. I think allowed is better. Like I think socially and both physically, I think we're allowed to have emotions and feelings and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're
Right.
allowed to. It's what you do with them that changes the whole dynamic.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
Like
So anybody that says that your actions aren't affected by your feelings is disingenuous, because we do things all the time whenever we're pissed off,
Sure.
or whenever we're sad, happy, whatever.
I broke a
we
TV
can't-
when I was pissed off.
There you go. You can't help it. It's just part of our human nature. Some people can control it a little bit, but at some point every person breaks. It's biology.
Right.
And so let's say girlfriend cheats on you and you yell at her, you say, I can't believe you did this. I want you to know how much you hurt me, all that stuff.
Sure.
And
You're thinking of, I can't believe you've done this.
I can't believe you did. I'm sorry. Like you're
What
very
movie?
serious
What
conversation.
movie?
Well, no, it's not a movie. It's a short Vine where someone punches him in the face.
Oh,
and he's
I
like,
can't believe you done this.
yeah.
that,
So
yeah,
whenever
that's exactly what it
you said
sounded
that,
like.
sorry, I totally did not mean to derail
No,
it.
it's
That
fine.
was just kind of funny.
So-
you laughed, and I knew
I-
it took me a second.
I tried to like hold it in because Blake was talking, but I mean, you gotta
Sorry,
get the
it was
chuckles.
my fault for derailing.
No, it's fine.
Please
It's fine.
continue.
It's a funny Vine. But so you have all these feelings, and at some point they're going to manifest themselves in your actions.
Mhm.
So you can have a really intense rage, but you're not going to hit her.
Sure,
But
I would hope not.
you're gonna go out and you're gonna drink till you can't feel feelings anymore, or you're gonna yell at your friend and get it all out, and or I don't know, go work out, do whatever you can to get
Punch a
over it. But
wall.
at some point,
Yeah.
at some point your feelings manifest themselves into how you act in this world, and so
Okay.
forgiveness is no different. So if you want somebody to forgive you, your feelings of, I don't know what feeling you want to call that, but of pain, of sorrowful, regret, that needs to manifest itself into
In your
actions
actions.
towards that person.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would say too.
Okay. So what if And
We're just gonna keep making scenarios.
Hold on.
Like, would you forgive this person?
Do we want to keep it on topic of like friendship?
Well, that's true. Yeah,
Sure, yeah.
We're getting a little romantic there. So
Fine, friendship. So
well, no, I mean it's valid because someone could like.
No, like
What if a friend steals your girlfriend? Then that's like total betrayal.
Yeah.
That both of them would be completely cut out for me.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no level of forgiveness?
No.
Really?
No, when it comes to romantic
What if it wasn't?
stuff, no.
What if it wasn't behind your back? What if it was like you hung out as a group?
Like
and then...
if my girlfriend broke up with me and then like a week later, then sure.
No, it was the bro code like a year. Isn't that the bro code?
I thought the bro code is just never.
Honestly, I don't.
Never's for wives.
Oh,
but
sure.
girlfriends, it's a year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, honestly,
I'm not
even
fluent with
just
the
putting
code.
that aside, like if it's like you break up with me and then you go date someone else in the next week or two, sure. Like
What if it's like the next day? What if it's the next day?
Basically, in that situation, I'm gonna not talk with the girl at all, but I'll still try to be a bro with the guy.
Really?
That's basically how that.
And
would
you'd
go
never
down.
reach forgiveness
For the girl?
either.
I mean, for the guy, I could.
I think that depends on how long you've been dating.
What if you're dating this girl for like 7 years?
Oh yeah, no. In that case,
No,
fuck both of them. Like,
yeah,
like,
both
like,
of them,
if it's at that point where like we're basically engaged, like no, fuck both of you.
Oh, hold on. I have to interrupt when people want to say basically engaged. Nothing against you, Evan. I just think that's not true because at any point in the relationship, I think it could end. People could come to their senses.
Well, no, being engaged doesn't mean it can't end.
Well, I mean, but when you're saying basically engaged, I think it builds a connotation that just because you're dating someone for a really long time, and means they're gonna get engaged.
Well, no, I'm just talking based on how I know my relationship's gonna go.
Okay,
I'm
sure.
gonna date a girl for
a long time. Same
for
here.
6
sure.
or 7 years, and I'm gonna get engaged and get married.
Oh, so you're gonna date them for a long time first?
You have to.
What about like 3 years? Do you think 3 years is a good enough number?
But I mean, I think we're just getting
2
off
years.
topic.
Well, I'm just curious. 2 years?
2 years now.
To
spend the rest of your life with somebody.
It's all context.
What if you knew them
Okay,
for
so
like 5 years?
Here's a story.
What?
My ex's parents.
Yeah.
They met in the registration line at DeVry University, and the next day he proposed to her in the pool, and they got married, and they've been happily together ever since. They have 4 kids, and their family's like perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But stuff like that, like there are stories like that where it works.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 2 years is very reasonable depending on the situation. I think things like this all just come down to context.
Okay, hold on. One of us we just are just single, and then we meet this person. Okay. 5 minutes we propose. Would you support that marriage?
I'd say, bro, what the fuck are you doing?
Sure. But then would you be my best man?
Yeah.
I
get sloshed at your wedding.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Completely
it would
trashed.
be like there would have to be like an interrogation session, but then
an
Sit you
interrogation
down,
session?
spotlight.
yeah, no, like
What is wrong with you?
Like, I
Girl,
really
what's your
don't mean it to
parents?
sound negative, but
Sure.
like
No, I feel you.
But like we'd totally sit on the porch, and I'd be sitting there with my cigarette against the railing with Green Onions playing, being like,
Tap it.
"So what's the deal, you ball?" Like
There you go.
that have to happen.
I'd have
But
3 pieces
as long
and a
as like
cigar.
it seems healthy and working, yeah, I'd totally support you.
Awesome. Thank you guys. You guys are so
I'll
nice.
support you, but we will secretly make wagers on how long that shit's gonna last.
Yeah?
Secretly?
Yeah. We don't want to tell them.
Yeah, no, you have to make it public.
I still want to go to the
Well,
wedding.
no, he'll wager with us.
I'll wager 2.
That's not up to you.
I'd say about 7.5 years.
He's gonna be like 5 minutes.
Give or take a year.
We're done.
Give me your money.
I'll bet you everything in my bank account that we're gonna break up in 5 minutes.
Bet. Give me your phone.
Yeah, we're gonna wait, Evan. For
Done.
5. Okay.
That was
So
5 minutes and 1 second.
need to move on with the topics and whatnot because we have a short little list here. Expectations of friends. What is the what's the maximum you think a friend should do for you, and what is the bare minimum that you think a friend should be there for you?
Depends on how you define friend. Right.
Like,
I don't
So-
think we need to try and redefine friend. I think that's
How do we
way-
redefine-
Well, no, hold on. So like
we tried doing it like
John. He was making levels for friends.
he had like A level, B level, and C
Right.
level or
so
something.
like C level are like the guys in red on Star Trek, expendable. You know, like the ship keeps going even though
Sure.
they float in space.
Sure.
And then you have your B levels, which is like your doctors on the ship or your
I
military
don't know if you
guys.
related it to Star Trek.
I'm relating
Okay.
it to Star Trek.
Sure.
Then you have your A levels. Those are the guys in the captain's quarters. That's your
That's
Spock.
Kirk.
That's your
Yeah.
McCoy. That's
Even
those
though
guys.
those aren't okay. Go ahead.
I know they're not.
No, sure.
God.
The main characters. You're right. Go.
Yes. Okay. The ones that we know can count on. no matter what.
Okay, so what is the expectation of those friends?
Expectation of those friends is however much they expect out of you.
Okay, so it's just
I mean, I think there is some bare minimum expectations. Like, if I'm that much of a friend with you, I expect you to text me every once in a while, and like I'll text you every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think there should be expectations for communication and friendship.
Okay.
Like, and I'm not meaning like, oh, like let's text all day, have a conversation, but like, if you're actually like my A-level friend, then you're gonna hit me up and want to hang out over. Like, it just
so what if people don't text or like call? They just, hey, come over, and then they hang out there.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, just like as long as they're like, in order to be at that level of friendships, honestly, it's kind of a requirement for for somebody in that friendship to reach out and initiate, or for both. And so, personally, I think it's a two-way street.
I also think it depends on the friend, right? So you and I, we don't have to have texting conversations, right?
Yeah, just send you memes every now and then.
Right, and then you'll say something political or whatever that will spark a debate when we hang out or whatever.
Sure.
But it's always we hang out in person. We don't really. You'll occasionally call me. That's how we roll. Me and Matt, we don't text each other ever unless it's, hey, you in town? Come on over. And then we sit back and drink beer and play darts for 5 hours and not really say a word.
Sure.
That's our friendship, right? So it depends completely on the friend. If you have a friend that needs that line of communication, then like Josh, for example. Josh will send me memes constantly, like at least 20 a day.
Sure.
And that's how we talk. That's how we communicate. And he and I both need that to keep the friendship going. I don't need that with other friends. So it depends entirely on how organic that relationship and how that friendship works.
So what's the most you can ask of those level friends?
Depends if you're in the mafia or not.
Gosh, what is with this depending? All right, if we're in the mafia, how much can you ask of me?
And you need to help me dispose of a dead body.
I could do that.
But if you're in the military, you expect your brother to die for you, just like you would do for him.
Okay, real quick.
You know what I'm saying?
Real quick, can we talk about like those strengths of like how the military have like way more intense bonds than like
you want to know
quote
why?
Unquote civilians?
Yeah, there's something psychological about it.
Okay, go for it.
So in the mind, it's like almost an aphrodisiac whenever you're near death experience kind of thing.
Sure.
That's why a lot of people like to choke themselves or that kind of kink or whatever. But bring it down a level to brotherhood, where you've spent years with these guys and there's something inherently powerful about you knowing that somebody else will die so that you can live. And there's nothing in the world that we will understand to that level.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Evan has
something that I really want to relate after you finish this little part.
No, that's
this little part. Blake's pouring out his heart here, man. It's not a little part.
And this has to do with it. It does relate back to Evan. Do you guys know what the haka is?
I have no idea what the haka is.
The
Maori war dance.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. It's not always a war dance. Basically, the haka is there are many different hakas, and it's something that Maori people do in New Zealand, and it's like a show and a performance of like brotherhood and family and strength and friendship and all the bonds and all the things that life brings you and gives you. And I was watching a video of one last night.
Intense as shit, right?
It was this kid whose brother had committed suicide, and this was after the funeral, right before they were sending off the hearse. They do a haka for that,
right?
And so all the guys, like male family, male friends, were all lined up, and dude, it's insane. There's like screaming and yelling, and like it's like this crazy like war dance, and it's super emotional and super crazy to watch. And like halfway through, this dude. He starts like breaking down, like he starts like all of his emotions are going nuts, and this dude's like crying and shit, and he can barely do it, and so someone else comes up and starts leading, and it's just amazing to watch, like, and that's something that I wish we got from our culture.
Yeah, we're not as close anymore. And I remember there was a video by this guy named Sebastian Junger, who's a writer and author, and he writes for the National Review, and I read an article about from his that was basically talking about why soldiers want to go back to war in today's society. Okay. So back, like he monitored PTSD rates and how at some point PTSD rates spiked even for people that didn't experience a large level of combat. And he was basically saying it's because their PTSD was because of culture shock. So they entered this world when they went into the military of intense brotherhood, putting your life on the line every single day for these guys. And then once they get back home, we're now living a culture where we don't talk to each other anymore, right? We don't really know our neighbors as much as we used to.
There's no brotherhood anymore.
No, there's not, unless you make it, unless you actively seek it, right?
So is that just a product of technology and
it's a product
separating...
of a bunch of many things. We're becoming more distant from each other, right? So it's almost as if our fences connecting our backyards are just each getting higher and higher with one brick at a time. And excuse me, and we're not sociable with each other anymore. And that's why these guys miss war so much that they'll break down in civilian life because
they're getting like a full human experience.
Yeah, you need that brotherhood once you've had it. You can't do without it.
So that begs the question then, should we go back to or not go back to, but follow like Israel policy where at least you have to serve for at least 2 years?
No.
Why not?
Because we don't need to, like Israel.
Well, not necessarily a need, but it also, it teaches you respect and responsibility.
It does, but there's also a freedom factor that we have in this country that I wouldn't mess with. The freedom to make your own choices. And that's why we put these guys on such a higher pedestal, is because with all of that freedom, they chose to risk their lives for us.
Okay.
And so, but going back to just regular friends, right? So, Yuval.
Yeah.
At some point, I don't know, I hope to God it never happens.
Okay.
But who knows? If there's a shooting when we're eating lunch or whatever, I hope to God that I would do something to help you in that instance.
Aww,
right?
Blake.
That's what that's what bros do.
Sure.
Right? But there could be a table behind us with two bros who probably won't. And I'm not saying that I would, because I've never been in that situation before. I don't know, but for argument's sake, let's say I do.
Right.
The table behind us might not, and their friendship may be stronger than ours.
Okay. You're saying then it's kind of unfair to classify the strength or the position of the friendship based on physical actions?
Life and death, almost. Right. So I don't expect one of my best friends to put their lives on the line for me.
Sure.
I would never ask you to do that because I don't expect you to.
Okay.
Right.
But you expect that of family?
No.
Do you expect it of anyone?
No.
I think the only family that you could reasonably expect that of would be your direct parents.
Probably.
I wouldn't.
Really?
And, even then, I personally wouldn't expect them to put. I mean, well, if I had parents, I wouldn't expect them to put their lives on the line for me. But no, I think
my mom would.
Out of your family,
she would
you know your mom would, but do you expect her to? Do you in your heart of hearts want her to?
Well, but in that situation, if there was I'm in danger, I think at the same time she would be in danger, so I would try and protect her, if anything. Right. So,
but let's say you're already shot, in the shoulder or whatever.
Oh, sure.
And you're on the ground. Do you expect her to cover you up with her body?
I would appreciate it if she did.
You're right.
I'm not going to be like, Bob, get over here.
Mom, get over here. Right. You wouldn't expect that out of anybody.
Dad, you POS, you need to get over here and cover me.
But there are expectations, right? So if I were to call Matt at 2 a.m,
sure,
I know that I would answer the phone if he called me at 2 a.m. if he was in trouble. I make that same expectation for Matt.
Okay.
And for those level of friends, I expect for example, if I were to call Evan Smith at 3:30 in the morning and I had a flat tire, I'd fully expect him to help me with it.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
But that's because we're at that point where I know if it were to happen, he would. It's not like I'm just expecting it because I'm entitled. I'm expecting it because I know.
When you help me out.
Because I would do the exact same for him.
Right. Like when you help me out when my truck ran out of coolant or whatever and you picked me up or whatever.
Right.
You expect me to do the same thing for you, and I would expect you to do that for me again if
I
needed
of course.
to. Right. Small stuff like that, right? But
I don't know. I think that's the big stuff.
Let's talk about that's the big stuff. How about if I'm in financial trouble and I need $5,000 from you?
If I had $5,000, Blake, I would give it to you.
Really?
Yeah.
10,000.
If I had 10,000, I'd give it to you. If you were in serious financial trouble, I know Blake, as you as a person, would only be coming to me to ask money if that was the last option.
Yeah.
And so I would say, of course, I would give it to you. Personally, though, I don't mind giving out money because I know the people that I give the money out to would give it back. Like with my ex, loans were no problem. If she was short cash till her next paycheck or something, or I needed to buy something for her, I had no issue with getting the money back. Mm-hmm. So that but even then, probably friends that from work, I'd loan people from work as long as I trust them money. So
okay,
but that's just me though.
I don't know. You can expect, like, let's break it down more simply. You can expect honesty, right?
Sure.
You can expect communication.
Your kidneys?
Sure.
If we had matching...
If I had 2 working kidneys and you needed a kidney, yeah, I'd give you one.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. What about blood?
Yeah, blood. I'd give you blood before...
mine.
That's true. Blake's pretty contaminated.
Honestly, I'd give you blood before I'd give you a kidney. That's easier.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll say, so honesty...
Hey, Evan, I need some blood.
Like, for medical reasons? Sure. No.
Maybe. Potentially. Maybe in the future.
Blake, hand me your knife.
I don't have it.
Damn.
Honesty, communication, commitment, right? Like, you can expect commitment out of somebody, out of a bro. Let's see, what else? Just basic rules of bro code, right?
Sure.
Sure. Don't touch my sister.
True, yeah.
Don't talk about my mom. Only I can talk about my mom.
Sure.
Don't talk to my girlfriend in that kind of way. We've already had that discussion.
We had this conversation. We agreed that I can send memes.
And that's it.
That's it. No text or anything, just memes.
And no romantic memes either.
Oh my god. Why would I ever send a romantic meme?
I don't know. You've all...
Evan, have I ever sent you a romantic meme?
No, but
Evan doesn't have a giner. So
yeah, like, exactly.
No, I would never send her romantic memes. I would send you romantic memes.
Yeah,
Blake, we had this conversation. I can send anyone memes, and it's fine. Okay, thank you. Can I send your mom memes?
Don't you ever get my mom's phone number ever.
What if I ask her? What if I'm like, can I have your phone number so I can send you?
What she'll say? She's going to be super nice, like any Southern woman is, to your face. And be like, oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. I just don't give out my numbers.
Bless your heart.
Immediately when you leave the house, she's going to look at me and go, what the fuck is wrong with him?
Bless your heart, honey.
Does he know never... Make sure he knows never to talk to me again.
Oh, yeah?
She wouldn't say that.
Okay, good.
I'd say that.
She's such a nice lady, though. Can I ask your dad's phone number?
You can. He's going to be more blatantly fuck off.
What if I'm like, sir, can I have your business card?
I'll give it to you.
Okay, and then I'll send his phone on his business card memes. He'll be like, who is this?
Do I need to bring up the story about my mom's office?
No, no, that's okay. That's an off-podcast story.
It's really funny.
I'm excited
really
for after
really
the podcast then.
All right.
So, commitment, honesty, communication, basic forms of bro code, and
I think it's about it.
Buy beer or buy alcohol every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's a fair expectation.
Yeah.
Or at least if you buy them, the expectation of bitten.
Be fun.
Bought.
That's another expectation. Be fun.
Well, I think that's you choose your fun friends. It's not necessarily an expectation.
Right,
it's like if
there are times where I have a friend that's coming over that's not like Matt, who can just sit around and drink beer, and that may be what I want to do. I just want to chill the fuck out. But I know I have another friend that doesn't hang that way. So I'll have to. All right, Blake, let's get ready to go out, kind of thing, right? So you gotta. It's just like anything. You make sacrifices for your bros and your girls and your family.
That's fair. One last kind of topic on the sort of whole idea of emotions and friendships and expectations and sort of that bubbly, feely kind of sensitive topics. Because then I have another couple things that I want to ask about. The difference between tolerance and empathy, and how important is that to have as a human being, and how, and if you have any anecdotes or situations that, people that you've met that you could empathize with, or maybe you couldn't empathize with, and then how much of tolerance that you have towards that person.
Just want to clear it up so that I'm not confused.
Sure.
Empathizing is when you've been through the same thing. Sympathizing is when you have not been through the same thing, right?
I think it's swapped.
The ability to understand and share the feelings of another.
That's empathize or sympathize?
Yeah.
And then what's sympathize then?
Sympathize is being able to...
Feelings of pity and sorrow for someone else.
Yeah, saying I'm sorry without knowing what they're going through.
Okay. Right, so empathy is trying
to
empathy
relate
is
to
like,
your mom passed away.
Right,
hey,
right.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. I've been through that. Let me know if you need anything.
Okay.
Whereas if it didn't happen to me, Sorry to hear that.
So tolerance is the ability or willingness to tolerate something, in particular the existence of opinions or behavior that you do not necessarily agree with.
Mm-hmm. So more specifically, I guess, then to target that. So when you're going day to day, I think people have a wide range of responses to certain situations for people. Either they can empathize with the situation. Let's say someone just lost their job, right? So I think you have one train of thought that will say, I'm sorry you lost your job. I've been there. It's going to be tough, blah, 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 whatever. I think you have another train of thought that would have to essentially tolerate this person saying, oh, tough it out. I've been there. Stop complaining. And so you kind of have that level of tolerance, but you're still reacting to the same situation. So I think...
So it's kind of like mom and dad, tolerance and empathy. Like I remember one time I was having a rough time at work, and I was my parents asked me what's going on with work, and so I told them, and my dad goes, Blake, you need to stop, not bitching and moaning and just deal with it, and it'll all work out soon. And then my mom kind of looked at him like with a weird look, and she goes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're going through this. I bet it sucks.
Exactly.
It's mom and dad.
So and then I guess then the continuing, if I can say words, how is it important? Is there, which one is more important? Is there something, is to empathize? Is that a healthier reaction, or is that a more respected action, or it's to be tolerant and to be tolerable and to, accept all forms of life? Because you can't necessarily empathize with everyone, but you can tolerate everyone to a certain extent.
I think tolerate.
That's more important?
Yeah.
So to be able to...
Because empathy makes it personal.
Okay.
And you can't be personal with everybody. You can't go through life taking everything personal.
While I agree with that, I think empathizing is better when the situation calls for it. Like, when there's a situation that you can be empathetic versus being tolerant, I think being empathetic is the better option. If it's not like... If it's something that you've been through, obviously, if you can actually be empathetic, if it's to someone that you actually know, then I think empathy is better. Okay.
Well, so I think I might ride with Blake a little more with this one, just because I was going to disagree with you on the point where you can't be personal to everyone, because I think kind of wearing your heart on your sleeve, I think that's a good way to live. I think it may be a little more of a roller coaster for you, but I think that's a healthier lifestyle where I think you can be happier with yourself if you wear your heart on your sleeve versus having to control it and, put a circle around it, but, to tolerate and put a circle around that heart. So I disagree, Blake. I've sided with Evan now that I've
So let's look at every time we talk about the generation below us, right? We talk about how spoiled they are and how entitled they are, and how every mom has been taught empathy over tolerance.
Okay.
With their kid.
Sure.
And we've raised a bunch of fucking snowflakes because of it. And I think empathy...
I don't think that has anything to do with empathy.
Okay, well, empathy has its place with... So, like, with my mom and my dad, the same situation. I would have much rather have had... Like, if I had to choose between my dad's tough love tolerance or my mom's empathetic, I'm so sorry kind of thing, hands down, I would have chosen my dad.
Well, I don't think being empathetic means being pushover-y.
Okay.
I think we're getting those associated where they shouldn't be.
I think empathy doesn't allow you the same opportunity to develop emotional and mental fortitude as tolerance does.
But isn't it important to have a healthy relationship, though?
At some point, yeah. Like, it completely depends on the relationship.
Because, like, I would hope that your dad has been empathetic with you and has
Not really. And
I mean, at least a few times, right?
Occasionally, like when I graduated college.
Okay, and that's a very important time to show empathy.
I have an example where I think, like... Okay, so example.
Sure.
Blake, one of your parents passes away.
Got it.
Would you rather have someone be empathetic or tolerant? Would you rather have someone be, hey man, I've been through that, it fucking sucks, but if you, pull yourself up and get through it, you'll be able to get through it, versus, hey, I haven't been through that, that sucks, deal with it, like, don't complain about it.
Well, in that extreme instance, yes, I need.
Well,
someone
that's
to
not even that extreme of an instance. I think.
I think
That's something.
All right, fine. Yeah, fine.
I think
that point, fine.
I think that's a daily life example.
Sure, I'll save empathy for when a family member dies or I lose a girlfriend or if best friend dies. That's where I'll save empathy.
Really, only in death is when that's the line.
Yeah, because that's at least for me. I don't know a lot else.
I think, and Blake, it's not that I entirely disagree with you, and I'm not just here trying to tear down your argument. I'm trying to have a good, reasonable debate.
Bring it.
But I do agree with you with empathy shouldn't be overused, because I really think it comes down to everything in moderation at the end of the day.
That's true.
I think
That's very true.
empathy's good if you use it in situations where it's going to help. If someone's going through something tough, and I think the real divider here between when to be empathetic versus when to be tolerant is whether or not the person could have prevented that from happening.
Okay.
That's a really good point.
If someone goes bankrupt because of something that they can't control, I'm going to be empathetic towards that if I've been in that situation. If someone goes bankrupt because they're an idiot and they bought a car they can't afford, yeah, I'm going to be like, dude, that sucks, but that's your fault.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, that's really where that divide, in my opinion, should come from.
I think it depends on that and also the emotional fortitude of the person you're talking to, or how much that person likes to be emotional and wear their heart on their sleeve.
I agree with that,
because
too.
if you're talking to me, I don't want to hear you say I'm sorry. I don't need it. It doesn't do anything for me.
Sure.
Like, they're just words. But I do prefer someone that says, dude, that sucks, I get it, but it's time to fucking, let's go. Come on.
Yeah.
Because it's a click in my brain, like, all right, then I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty starts playing in the back of my head, and I'm like, all right, you're fucking right.
I do see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, because it kicks your ass in gear, and you're like, okay, you know what, you're right, I need to get over it, I need to deal with it, it needs to be done.
Right.
And I do agree with that.
So, but if I'm talking to my girlfriend, I'll ask her, I kind of use this today, I'll ask her, is this a conversation that you want me to listen to, or do you need me to fix something? And then she'll pick one of the two, and I'll go, got it. Like, do you want me to empathize with you about how much your girlfriends won't text you back or whatever?
Do you want me to deal with it?
Or do you want me to text them and say, hey, what the fuck?
Okay, I don't think you should do that
you
necessarily.
You pick.
So, but hold on. So how long of a period? I want to go take a step back real quick. Hopefully it still relates essentially. So how long of a period do you get that empathy time before you have to get it in gear and just
before you need tolerance?
Yeah. Is there a time, or is it just per situation, or is it?
I think it's contextual. I mean, honestly, like, I know I say that all the time, but that's a lot of the things we talk about really do come down to context. Like, if Blake's walking down the street and he gets bit by a wild dog, and it's like nothing crazy happens. He just gets bit by a dog, goes to the hospital, gets stitched up.
And then he discovers he has rabies.
No.
No.
I was trying to avoid this.
I have superpowers.
Because hold on.
That was why I said normal.
Blake, I would laugh at him if he got bit by a dog, because that's his fault. Because I know Blake, and if he got bit by a dog, it's his fault. So
you're gonna hold on. Explain the fuck out of that for me. Why is it my fault if some rabid wolfhound?
I think you're smart enough to avoid getting bit. So if you do end up getting
dogs are fast, dude.
That has nothing to do with
I think you would find a way. Like, you would obviously hop on a car or something like that.
Blake is on a mission trip to Africa. And
well, first of all, he would never be
that doesn't
in
matter.
even more
that doesn't matter.
Hold on, can we follow the original train of thought real quick?
A cheetah bites him.
Okay, so we're back at the hospital. Blake is getting stitches. He has rabies. That's something that that is reasonable. Now I have to say, Blake, I'm sorry you have rabies before I'm tolerant.
But what I was going for was where if Blake gets bit by a dog and it's not his fault, then
empathize.
I can be empathetic for a little bit, because that's not the biggest situation in the world. That's not a huge deal. Like,
what if Blake drones on about it for a week? He's like, I can't believe I got bit by that dog.
Oh, then if he just keeps bitching about it, then you just tell him, hey, stop.
But
what I'm saying
big
is
shadow over your head.
That compared to like Blake losing his girlfriend or a family member or whatever,
or his girlfriend gets bit by a dog.
Whatever. No, something actual like a catastrophic thing. That's where
I think that's pretty.
That's where you have more time to be empathetic and nice and friendly. Like,
sure, but so it's with scale.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
as the worse it is,
the
the
more
longer.
tragic
Top
it is,
is
the longer you have to...
Blake's girlfriend gets bit by a rabid Blake. Blake gets rabies.
So
and
I get
bites.
rabies from another dog, and then
You
I bite
your
her,
girlfriend.
and then next thing you know, the whole world's a zombie apocalypse.
Everyone
but
has rabies now. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I'm down.
Then I will empathize.
Then for the loss of humanity. So we are currently going to listen to the beginning of a speech, a sermon, and it'll just be probably like 10, 15 minutes of it. I might fast forward through it. I might not. I forget specifically what parts, but I have some questions I want to ask you guys about it. I think the way the person delivers the speech, and I think the content that he was talking about, I think it's interesting and just something that we can all sort of discuss and talk about. So,
just straight up, not playing games. Just before we dive into the message, before we get to the truth, I want to know what you hear. All right, how many here Laurel? All right, good representation. Okay, how many are wrong? How many here Yanny? How many? Oh, you're
Boy,
timid.
faces,
You're
man.
timid. Some of you are like, I heard Laurel that time. That's because there's people around and you're sane, okay? I know what's going on. You're like, yeah. Man, what kind of witchcraft is that? Some sort of crazy spiritual warfare. Enemies working in madness. It reminds everybody. It's been said over and over that the dress. You guys remember the dress, right? What do you see? What do you see? Whose team?
Did you ever
whose
see the
team
picture,
white and
Blake?
gold?
Yeah, it's gold.
Whose team white and gold?
It's blue and black.
All right, whose team wrong?
No, it's black.
Blue and black. That's crazy talk. I don't even see anything that can remotely look like blue and black up there.
See? And that's
White
Jesus.
sleeves, pretty gold lace.
You're right.
But it's crazy. But okay, come with me. Hey, check this out. And so you see something, you hear something, you feel something, and then there's a reality, right? Like no matter what we think we heard, it's the guy who recorded it on vocabulary.com said Laurel. You might hear Yanny, but what he said was Laurel. And we know that because we can go to the source. There's a truth. There's a reality. There's something that's fixed. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, no matter how deeply you feel. I look at that dress. No matter what you say, I see white and gold. I know, sister, I feel you. And I can't, there's nothing, I just don't get it. You're like, no, it's blue and black. I'm like, no, you're so wrong. But you know what? We can go to the source, the one who made the dress, and we see that.
It's blue and black.
And he clearly says, hey, it's blue. There, I see blue and black. That's blue and black. That other one's white and gold, though. And so, but you know, but I'm wrong. No matter what I think I see, no matter what I hear, no matter what I feel, there's a truth. And the way that you know the truth is that you go to the originator, the creator, the one who made the dress, the one who spoke the word, and they get to determine. And the same is true in our world. We're in this series, The Remnant. David talked about last week how God preserves the people to preserve the world. Here's the reality. God has always had his people. There are, at any time in history since creation, there have been God followers. Sometimes many, sometimes few. Once only two. But God has always had a people that he's preserved, that he's called to himself. My prayer is that now, or at least by the end of this message, that you would be one of them. That we would get to spend forever in eternity together, and you would leave her with the certainty that you're going to be there. And so tonight, I want to talk about how the remnant knows the truth. How the ones that God has preserved and chosen for himself and called to know him, they have a reality. They understand the purpose for which they live. They know why the world was created and why God created you and the plans that he has for you, these incredible plans that the Creator has for you. You can navigate this world like your atheist friend can't. You can navigate this world like your unbelieving friend can't, or like your friend who's pursuing a false God can't, because if there's a true God, then there's a false God, or lots of false gods. And I need you to know something. It's okay to know that, to say that, to believe that, regardless of the ridicule you face, the accusations that come against you. It's not a popular idea in our day to say that there's absolute truth. People believe that it's arrogant that you would say, hey, I know what's right. And if I know what's right, that means that something is wrong. And so this is crazy, though. Like if you see a loved one, someone you care about deeply, and they're walking along a ledge and they're about to fall off, and you run to go and catch them, and they say, no, it's okay. I think I'm a bird. You're going to say, no, bird, you're about to feel gravity. The reality of gravity. You wouldn't say, oh, you think you're a bird? Well, then you must be fly. You wouldn't do that. Why wouldn't you do that? Because you're not crazy, and because you love them. You're going to grab them, and you're going to pull them back.
All right, I just want to stop right here. Just a few questions and just kind of initial responses and stuff like that. One thing before I ask these questions for you guys, he was very animated as he's walking across the stage. His arms is moving. He's very much like reeling in. Yeah. So just initially, ignore the content, ignore the topic they were talking about versus truth versus belief, or I guess truth versus
falsehood.
Well, not falsehood, but like perception.
Yeah.
So interpretation, perception. So truth versus that. But ignoring all of that, how did you think of his presentation and his speech and his demeanor and kind of how he was giving it?
Sounded like every Baptist preacher that I
Really?
grew up listening to. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's very. Is this a black dude?
No, it's a white guy.
White dude.
Yeah, it just sounds like church to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Well,
it sounded like
not even the content, just
Sure,
the way he talks.
Really?
Is very
Because you see,
it's very kind of, it feels very Southern white churchy.
Because for me, I've never.
It just reminded me of the Potter House that I would go with one of my black friends with.
Mm-hmm.
That big old black church down in Dallas.
Okay.
Potter House, big old Baptist church. That's what it sounded like to me.
So just kind of the emphasis sort of at the end of every sentence and sort of
you know
That
the truth.
exactly that.
Okay, so that you see, I is very very different with going to temple and stuff like that in synagogue.
What's it like there?
It's more, I guess for me, the times that I remember, it's more matter of fact. It's just like, and then God said this and blah blah blah, and well, obviously not like this boring tempo, but definitely
Bueller.
yes, it's like exactly like that. No, it's more of a conversation, sort of, at least. But I do get that. But I don't think that's necessarily makes it a bad speech at all. I don't think that plays to the this guy's a bad.
And I agree with you on that. I don't think the way he talks is gonna demean his content or what he's trying to get across.
Mm-hmm.
But that style of speech giving always just feels like propaganda-y to me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it really feel like, and to bring the content in just a little bit,
Sure.
that analogy,
Makes sense.
very propaganda-y.
Which analogy?
The bird.
Oh, okay.
The comparing, like, and I know you said no content. But
Sure. No, I understand. No, and that's very fair to bring up.
And it's like he was comparing someone being crazy wanting to, fly
Mm-hmm.
versus someone who doesn't believe in the one true God.
Mm-hmm.
And that comparison right there to me is why this whole thing feels propaganda-ish to me.
Well, I think it's
Is it like a youth?
yeah. This is like a youth group sort of
Yeah,
thing where
I figured.
each week they talk about something different. Sometimes they have a series of topics that they talk about, and then you'll have like a reading or whatever it is, or however.
And you hear that it's almost simplistic logic. Like I've heard this growing up. This is all I heard growing up was those kind of metaphors during youth sermons. But whenever we would go to the big sermon with the adults,
Mm-hmm.
it was much more intellectually like scripture driven.
Really?
I can tell. Oh yeah, and I can tell that this guy is trying to dumb it down, for lack of a better words, so that these kids can relate to it.
Okay.
And I can definitely hear that in his voice.
And it's even more present because he starts the whole thing off with
the dress and the yard.
Right. I think that's a huge, but I think that's a positive thing.
I do think that that's a good thing that he's doing, and I think that's a very good way to catch his audience. But it's just I agree with what he's saying.
So I mean,
What Blake's saying.
Well, sure, right. So would you consider this like kind of a passionate speech, or do you think?
No, these guys, and I can give some insight into this. These guys are very good at what they do in terms of they know how to talk to people. They're very good public speakers, but because this is what they do, and these are the kind of guys that you're going to walk up to after the sermon, and he's going to be the same energetic, hey, what's up, man? Awesome. Yeah, cool. Kick, whatever. That's awesome. Thank God.
Right.
Thank God for you coming here, man. Thank God that you are here bringing all this spirituality and peace and happiness into this world right now. That same guy is that guy 24/7. And so it loses out for me the emotional gravitas of it all, because like there's one of my preachers growing up, his name is Bill Parr, and he was basically Santa, but when he was giving his sermons, he was very much like very intense, like but not in a bad way at all. Like it was very much, he would read from Matthew, or he would read from whatever book that it was. He would give his little spiel, and then at the end he would tie it up going, that's what was meant to be said. That's what he's talking about there. Now let's read it again. And then he would go on to, for God is not for us, or if there is no God for us, then he should be against us. That's what that means.
Well, I mean, couldn't you attribute that emphasis and that kind of over-exaggeration to speakers like JFK and Martin Luther King Jr.? Because, I mean, you hear some of their speeches.
That's what I'm saying. It's great public speaking.
Okay.
It is. He's very good at what he does, but then, because I know what's going on behind the scenes,
it's not necessarily passionate.
I'm like, you do this every single Wednesday.
Like, yeah, it's their job to be passionate, is what it is. Like, they're getting paid to be that passionate, uplifting person who's up on the stage making you want to do this thing.
Now, it's also very much likely, and I've met these guys too, that are genuinely passionate about
and
the
that's
scripture
true as well.
Sure.
And that's how they are, and because the Spirit of God just flows through them, and like the kind of guys that I bet when they order Whataburger, like, I need a double with cheese. If you can give that to me, my sister, please give that to me, my sister. I've seen guys like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's just these guys are over the top always, and that's the vibe I'm getting from this guy.
Okay.
It's not like when he leaves the sermon and goes talk to his wife, he's gonna be like,
calm it down.
Oh,
right.
Hey baby, what's up?
Right.
It's gonna be, what is for dinner tonight? Where is Ezekiel, my favorite son? Where is he? How was T-ball practice today?
Well, I don't think that's gonna. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know the guy. So,
For the record, I don't want to mean anything negative about this guy. I'm just.
Oh no, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Just initial opinion.
Of course. No, that's fine. So before we jump into the content, real quick. So one, have you, and I mentioned this kind of at the beginning of the podcast, speakers either on campus or in a personal group or whatever, anything like that, and you've seen, heard YouTube videos, anything like that, have you ever been moved or or changed a decision in your life based on that?
Oh yeah.
Evan, you're like shaking your head the whole time I was saying it.
You said campus, and that just reminds me of the UNT guy.
Which UNT? Oh, okay. So real quick, I think I've already we've discussed it a little bit, but there's a guy on campus that like every Wednesday or something like that, he'd get on a soapbox essentially and start preaching the Bible.
He'd bring a PA system and a microphone, and he'd bring an extra one
for people to discuss.
And he'd preach it, and he'd like debate with people, and it was
But
awful.
I mean, it was
too much, or why was he awful?
It was all. I think every time I walked past him, I heard him talking about damnation.
He's like the Westboro Baptist Church kind of Christian.
Right. So, but anyways, getting back to Blake, you were agreeing about the being moved and stuff like that.
So, I was at college, and a former Navy SEAL came up and did a speech for one of my criminal justice courses.
Okay.
Incredibly powerful. If you want to get motivated, you need to listen to a Navy SEAL tell his stories about his time in Afghanistan. Like, that's That'll get you off your ass. There was one speech by a former, what was it? I think he was doing a graduation speech for UT at Austin. I think he was a former military guy as well. But he basically broke down what every successful person does, where he goes like, he basically lined out like, make your bed every morning. And he just gave you lists of what a successful person does. Also, YouTube has been huge.
Oh, for sure.
Because I listened to pretty much all of Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you've ever seen his videos. I listened to all of his lectures. He's a psychologist or a professor of psychology at the University of Toronto.
Okay.
He puts all of his lectures online. And he's gotten into a lot of, he has the #1 book or New York Times bestseller book out, 12 Rules for Life. Like, he's incredibly smart. And every time I listen to his lectures or his speeches or whatever, I'm leave there with something profound.
Oh, okay. That's really nice. So you'll have to send me some to watch.
Oh, yeah.
So then my following question, do you think there's a difference between seeing, okay, let me say, do you think there's a major difference between seeing the speech / performance live or over the internet or like through a video or something like that?
I think it's a major difference.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be like seeing a live band live.
Well, no, I mean, I've
imagine
seen...
like we can go and look up a clip of Martin Luther King Jr. doing a speech.
Sure,
but imagine being there.
But imagine being there,
right?
Like,
no, I agree. I was just curious if you guys, because I mean, nowadays since media is just filtered all through our phones and laptops and stuff like that, you know, are you accustomed to this? Where I really enjoyed looking for Green Day live band cover or concerts. Thank you. So I really enjoy it. Oh, it would be totally amazing.
Yeah, and like, I agree with where you're coming from. I love that in this information age, we can see anything we want to see. We can look it up and watch whatever we want to watch. Mm-hmm. But I think live is always going to be better.
That's, yeah.
At least sometimes
better.
9 times out of 10.
Like, I'm not even talking just music. I mean just like things in general.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Speeches, things like that are generally going to be better live.
Right, but I remember my parents were thinking about going to a different church at one point, and so we went to the big old Prestonwood Baptist Church over there.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that Six Flags Over Jesus?
Six Flags Over Jesus. Yeah. The Baptidome, if you will.
The Baptidome, yes, sir.
But and I remember their production value. So we grew up in a Norkirk Presbyterian church, really small, like maybe 100 people could fit into that room kind of church. And then we went to Prestonwood with millions of dollars worth of production.
Just to give you an idea, Prestonwood's like literally like...
Oh, I'm sure it's a ginormous.
It's like...
a campus. It's like a college.
Sure.
It's like half the AAC probably.
Yeah.
In terms of like size of the auditorium.
It's massive.
Sure.
It's
and they have millions of dollars worth of production value that goes into it. So like when there's music playing, you have like different lights and different visuals. Like
like this watermark is where we're watching. Yeah, it's a huge
right.
Whenever I went there, their concerts were just like crazy.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Neither do I.
I don't like that. I think it's distracting.
Campy.
Especially if if I was trying to get into the zone of understanding the word of God, that's distracting to me.
Okay.
I need something broken down.
Well, I'm not trying to ask you guys how you view church and stuff like that. I was just...
Well, that's my point. Live isn't always better.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess that you pulled it around. All right. Thank you for connecting that, Blake.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just like, why are we talking about churches now? No, but no, I agree on that point. Just real quick, as we kind of close this off, just a few points. If we kept listening to the video, he makes a few other points that I jotted down that I think were kind of interesting to talk about. So real quick, the truth versus perception. What I think that's take religion about it, whatever it is. If it's about politics, if it's about technology, whatever it's about, I think that's a very true statement. That is it's very important to be able to distinguish between what your perception is and versus what the truth is.
And I really did like the way that he brought that point up. Like, even though it is like, oh hey, here's this hot new meme right off the press for you.
Sure.
Like, even if it is that kind of like fellow kids thing.
Yeah, hey fellow kids.
He's like the Jack Black of churchgoers.
Yeah, the hey fellow kids. Even though it was a little like that, I really do think he took that and made it into a very good point, and I agree with truth versus perception being something that everyone should subscribe to, really.
Mm-hmm.
Are there universal truths, though?
I mean,
you'd have to name some.
This table's made of wood. That's the truth.
Is it?
I
I mean,
I don't know if
it came from Walmart. So.
Well, what if somebody else thought that this wasn't made of wood?
Well, then that's the point where I would say you need to understand that your perception isn't the same thing as what's true.
Well,
Okay.
I think I like to apply that mindset more instead of just labeling objects and being more
Okay.
specific about it.
Yeah.
Just general truths. Like the one classic old saying is nothing is guaranteed except death and taxes. Like those kind of universal
fucking
truths.
truth.
That's very
So
true.
right. So when you have like the what is oh sorry I think I hit someone's foot.
Hey.
Like what is what are the things humans are supposed to do? What are we meant here for? These types of these ideas. Well, is there a universal truth to that?
Well, no, I don't think there is. Like, there's not a.
Well, some people would disagree. I think
I'm sure they would, but if in the physical world, is there a reason why we're here? Do we need a reason to be here?
No.
some people would say is to do good and.
But where is why?
Just because we're here. We're here
But-
and we're all living on
right,
this rock.
but-
So
Okay, but why? Why?
do you have to have a reason to be good?
No.
Okay.
But what is goodness? See, this
well,
is
that's a
right.
big
This is where we go
rabbit
down
hole.
the rabbit hole of it. All leads back to
if we start asking questions like what's our purpose for being on the planet, we're gonna be here for a while.
Well, no, I was just trying
I
to
know you're just saying like,
Right.
yeah, like, things that are universally
right accepted and
That,
stuff
yeah.
like that versus
my point is
what your
right.
own
right so
perception is.
universal human rights or whatever. Right.
Mhm.
So some people knock it down to common sense. Some people
Mhm.
knock it down to the fact that we have consciousness means that we know what's good and what's bad, which I don't know if that's true or not, but it all boils down to what was the quote? There are three sides to every scenario, every situation.
yeah, they're
Your perception, my reception, and the truth.
Mhm.
Yep.
Right? So it you can take it politically, right? So if a Republican says Trump's amazing and a
Mhm.
Democrat says Hillary's amazing, I think there's some middle where we can just go, okay, both of them are pieces of shit. You
Sure.
know what I'm saying?
Or, yeah, right. No, I understand. I understand that. I guess everyone's perception isn't 100% the truth. Is that kind of the point that you're
No.
getting at?
Yeah, there is. Or yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Okay.
but here's the thing though. I don't think a single person has their one truth.
Okay, sure.
Right? So
Well-
your truth doesn't matter.
Some social justice warriors would probably disagree
Exactly
with you.
my point. I don't care about your truth. That's your perception.
Sure.
So
No, I understand, and that makes sense. One other thing they were bringing up is, and I think this is just kind of like we don't have to necessarily tie it to his speech, but one thing that I think is really an interesting phenomenon, I guess, if that's the correct way how you say it, is the value of believing in your own lie, and to what extent do you believe in that lie? To give context, he was talking about how people outside the Christian faith, they have their beliefs, they have their identities and stuff like that. But, this guy is saying, well, they're just believing into their own lie. So you can't believe them because it's... Well, right. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
take
so-
it
No, we
outside of
don't-
that
yeah,
context.
I was
go-
gonna take it outside of there, but I am gonna say I really don't like that kind of. That's a very bad way to put things like that.
Well, but when
But-
when it's a sermon and you're trying to get these kids
Yeah,
to
no.
believe...
you're appealing,
Obviously,
you're
yes,
appealing to
he's-
Christians. They're not appealing to people
Yeah.
like us.
yeah.
Right.
So
Whatever that
But
means.
my personal opinion on it is that you should be able to dig into your own self lies as long as you're self aware and realize that they're lies.
Well, I was going more of it to the aspect of like someone did something illegal and they start lying their ass off. Well, how do you know who's the best liar? It's the liars who believe their truths or believes that their lies are truth.
pathological liars, they lie so much that their lies become their reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just think that's kind of an interesting, just something that happens that humans do that like we as a analytical. Thank you. I'm trouble with words tonight. Self-analytical, cats don't believe their own lies. Giraffes don't believe their own lies because there's nothing to lie about. So that concept of bending the truth, I just think is really interesting. So
Jordan Peterson said
God,
in
enough
one of
with
his,
Jordan Peterson.
in his book 12 Rules for Life, he says
wait, was that written by Jordan Peterson?
he says tell the truth, but if you don't tell the truth, don't lie. So think about it. So let's say we're about to go out and girlfriend says, Blake, does my ass look fat in these jeans or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And I say, I could say the truth or whatever, and tell it like it really is.
Sure.
Or I can at least not lie.
Okay.
Like I could say, no, babe, it looks great. You look perfect or whatever.
Right.
That's a lie.
Okay.
And this is out of
Sure.
context.
Right.
But I could say, yeah, it looks fine.
So that's not a lie?
It's not a lie. I find her incredibly attractive. Not
Okay.
a lie.
I mean, I guess. It's a white lie.
Right. So that was his point. That was his point. So if you can't tell the truth, at least don't lie. At the very least, don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
Or like take it for example, like if I were to give we were having a political discussion.
Sure.
And I started pulling quotes out of my ass that are statistics out of my ass that weren't even true.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a lie. But
Okay.
I could say, I'm not really sure. I think I might know, but I need to look up the facts first.
Right. So you're not blatantly lying.
Right.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, I agree with that sentiment. I mean, I think generally it's the best way is to live an honest life. I think that's just kind of the go-to. I think it's interesting kind of, and we've talked about this before, but you know, how we live in this super hypocritical society where if you're wrong, it's like the end all be all.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why people get angry and upset is because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. I also think it's that concept of, well, you know, you might not want to tell the truth. So, because the truth will then bring down hell and stuff like that. So that's why you'd lie. Mm-hmm. So, you know, where I could probably go on for a million years about like what extent of when do you lie? When do you not lie? To who do you lie to? And, you know, break down
that would be another time for Evan to say, well, it's contextual.
It is.
It really is contextual.
It is.
guys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I agree. So, but
As Jordan Peterson once said, it's contextual.
it's contextual. But yeah,
He
so,
did say that.
but yeah, that's the end of the podcast. Appreciate you guys coming on and, you know, bearing with me and all that good stuff.
Appreciate you having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, babe.
So, anyways, you have a great day, night, or whenever you're listening to this podcast. All right, peace. And that is the end of the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, we are sponsored by Bluebird Cottage Cafe and Event Center. Reminder, it's opening early summer, okay? If you want to go and visit, grab some coffee, have a light meal, or you can schedule a perfect event. All the information to get in contact with them is in the description. This is the end song. It is now over.